at Mount Vernon, George Washington's Virginia home, to discuss the state-led process for crafting amendments to the United States Constitution. I said, whoa, what's this? And they're calling it the Mount Vernon Assembly. And I have that State Senator David Long, with us from Fort Wayne. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tell everybody what you're up to, because this sounds exciting to me.
Well, there's a number of state legislators around the country who are collaborating on an Article 5 convention. The chief among them are Representative Chris Capenga from Wisconsin, Representative Gary Vance from Oklahoma, and others, including myself. And each of us agrees that having some consensus on how to run a convention would be very important. We're all interested in it. I think we've all read your book. We've all been involved in this for a while, but we're concerned that, we want to make sure that however and whenever this convention occurs, that we have some control over it and that we've thought this through. So most importantly, we want to make sure that Congress cannot usurp the process or get away with dictating how such a convention would be run. It's a state-driven process, and we have to remain in complete control to have any success. That's what we believe. So things like how many delegates do you have? Will it just be one vote per state, which I think is critically important? How you choose your officers, whose rules will you follow? It's not sexy, but it is important to have this thought through a little bit with the assumption that we can get this done, and once we get there, we want to make sure we get it right. So, there'll be some ground rules, and we have to have them all figured out, but we're going to meet on December 7th at Mount Vernon. We have 26 states represented so far. We hope to have more than that. We're not going to attempt to define the specific amendments at this time. We've all got ideas, but more importantly, we just want to meet, talk, and try to get this thing organized so that if and when this happens, we get it done right.
First of all, I want to ask you, when this is over, if you'll come back on the program and report, unless this is all being done in confidence.
No, I'd love to, and the more attention, the better, I think. So I'd appreciate the opportunity.
I think this is the only way out, Senator. I don't really see Washington reforming itself, do you?
Not a chance. I think, when you look around, years of being a state legislator, you see, the constant erosion of the 10th Amendment till really after the Obamacare decision by the Supreme Court, it's almost meaningless. And, that in and of itself is troubling. But then, as you've written about and many others, just this mountain of debt it's unsustainable, it's overwhelming, it's frightening. You try to think about what our kids or grandkids are facing, and you realize that Washington's incapable. There are some good people out there, but they're just not going to be able to do anything about it. You can't wait for the president to turn over. You can't wait for the Senate to change. You're gonna, it could be too late by then. So I think you either wring your hands in despair and ask what will become of us, or you try to stand up and do something about it. So that's what we're doing.
And isn't the problem, it's more than an election or even one administration or one law. The problem is this has been going on for decade after decade after decade, and really the Constitution in so many ways has been rewritten, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, it's pretty clear. It's been a steady erosion. I think, you point to a moment in time where it's really gotten away from us. I think the 17th Amendment is a great example where, the populace got the Senate to be a popular election and took it away from the state legislatures. And the argument that why should the elitists have the decision? Let's give it to the people. It's a persuasive argument to do your homework, and you realize that this is exactly what the founders intended to have happen, that keep the states' thumb on the backs and the necks, if you will, of the Senate, the United States Senate. If we don't have that connection, I don't know if you want to call it subservience, but something like that to the states, you're going to lose any connection with them. And after the 17th Amendment passed, where we went to a popular election of the United States Senate, from that point on, I think we've seen a constant erosion of any thought from Washington as to, the laws they pass having a negative impact on the states. They don't have to answer to us, and therefore they don't.
And you don't participate in anything they do, and the Constitution would not have been ratified by the states originally had the Senate looked like it looks today. I can't even figure out what the hell the Senate is today. What's the point of this Senate? I don't even know, who do they represent? Why does it look this way? I mean, it's like a body without a purpose.
I don't know if there's ever been a United States Senate where they haven't passed a budget. The dereliction of duty that's going on out there, without really much scrutiny or criticism, it seems like, it's done this. I mean, the states, you have to pass a budget, you have to balance your budget, you can't spend more than you bring in, and we have to be accountable for it. And the problem in Washington, of course, is that they're not, and they're able to spend way beyond what they bring in, and there's no accountability, at least not with this group right now.
Do you see this state convention process as a growing movement, I hope?
I think it is. I'll be honest. I think we passed a couple of bills in Indiana this year. If you want to talk about that later, that's fine. But it's still just the discussion on an Article 5 convention was new for a lot of people. Now, when your book came out, I will say I think it electrified the entire discussion. There have been pockets of people interested in this. They haven't been all that well organized. That's changing now, and I give a lot of credit to your book, Mark. I think it's been a tremendous boost to this whole discussion, and has really, elevated the people's knowledge about this opportunity way beyond where it was even earlier this year.
Well, Senator, I was originally a skeptic until I actually took the time to jump in, educate myself, get into this very, very deeply. And you've been ahead of the curve on this. Now, I want to bring it back. I want to get into this a little bit more, but I'm getting the sense that more and more people are talking about this. And I want to assure people that if it's done right, we're talking about reestablishing constitutionalism, not a constitutional convention. I want to pursue that with you a little bit, Senator, as soon as we return. I'm talking to the Senate President in the Indiana Senate, David Long, Republican, Fort Wayne. December 7th, they're going to be meeting at Mount Vernon to discuss Article 5. I'll be right back.